coming at you. Game number 1, gonna kick things all off. That means 3 wins are needed to take home TI10. $23 million on the line for this series alone. And it's very top heavy. You take first, you get 18 million. You take second, you get a measly 5 million or so. So obviously still some great money that has been guaranteed for these two teams, but it dramatically increases for taking home the championship, and as it should in a lot of ways. And there's also, of course, the title of TI10 champions. Welcome to the Noobcast. I'm Break CPK. Happy to be here. So yeah, we got these two teams going at it. I've already been previewing, both of them. So we're not necessarily going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the draft that we have at hand. So again, to stress, this is a best out of 5. Every single series up until this point in the main event has been best out of 3, other than the initial lower round, which was a best out of 1. But that simply put means you need to win 3 games here to take the series. There is no advantage there. So and sometimes in these double elimination format tournaments and in other esport games, competitions, there is some sort of advantage for the winner bracket team because they never lost a series coming into it. But that isn't the case for TI. And I don't think there should be. I think that kind of ruins the appeal. That's a whole nother conversation, though. Simply put, there is no advantage. It is 0-0 to start things off right here. We got a draft underway. So again, how it works, you got the first pick eventually, in this case chosen by LGD. Then you get the next 2 picks for Spirit, and then back to LGD, and then more bans to follow. This middle bar right here gives you an idea of which heroes are being banned and picked, or which teams, have their ban and picks good to go. I'm going to remove my webcam because I know I'm blocking some of these bans right here. And it goes all the way throughout before we get the final 2 picks, one for either side. It's going to be Team Spirit having the final pick overall. So there is some strategy there where your first pick hero overall, in this case LGD, going the IO route. Usually the first pick hero, it's going to be a hero that you kind of expect may get countered in some sense because you're giving away that information. But there's a couple of directions you could go. One, you go a hero that is just way too powerful to deal with, that you don't care if they're, I'm doing air quotes here, countered in the draft. You just want to go with a certain strategy. Or you go a much more diverse pick, something like we've seen a lot of Monkey Kings come to mind. Tiny even comes to mind. Like some of these heroes that they can be played in many different roles. So it doesn't necessarily give away a lot of information in terms of where the hero is going to be played. LGD, they go the route of just a very powerful hero. IO is, well, you know what? I shouldn't even say that actually. In this event, IO has been played as a support mainly. We have had examples in years past, though, where core IO or even carry IO or mid IO has certainly been a thing. But usually it is a support hero. So there is a little bit of that diversity when it comes to IO. IO, what he brings to the table, it's this tether where basically he tethers to another teammate. He enhances their attack speed, their movement speed, but then he also regenerates their health and mana whenever he regenerates, or it regenerates their health and mana at the same time. So it's a amplifying hero that amplifies somebody else. They also have a relocate ability that can teleport anywhere on the map at any given time, and they can bring somebody with them with that tether ability. So very mobile, very, very, very good utility support hero as well. And paired up with somebody like an Ursa is a combination that we will see a bit with it. So there's that combo, but there's much more to talk about. The other time in Tidehunters have been some of the more popular picks in general this TI. Those 2 picks coming out for Team Spirit with their first 2. Tidehunter, much more of this offlane core hero, where in a lot of offlane core cases, you like a hero that can get a blink dagger earlier on and start a team fight or counter initiate or, whatever. Just be this presence that causes chaos in team fights or, helps to get an early pick, whatever the case. Tidehunter is that. He has this, what's called Ravage, one of the more iconic abilities in Dota 2. It's his ultimate. It pops these whatever from the ground. I'm trying to think of the name, some spikes from the ground, and it stuns everyone essentially in a large radius around Tidehunter, which means, blinking in, popping Ravage. It's a great way to either start a fight or counter initiate. And then you can do as you please from there. So great hero pick up there. Disruptor Lycan for LGD. So Lycan is another kind of interesting one because is potentially going to be an offlane hero. We do see him played usually more offlane when he is picked up. He's one that he transforms into a wolf himself with his ultimate, and he gets crazy movement speed. He can't be slowed, and he does crit damage. He hits harder. He also spawns wolves around him that kind of creates this army of minions that, and usually he'll get an item called Helm of the Dominator that will allow him to take over a jungle minion as well, that he then gives benefits to because of an aura that he levels up. So point is, he's all about these minions. He's not your typical offlane. He doesn't care about necessarily initiating with like a blink or something. He wants to build aura heavy, so aura based items such as Helm of the Dominator, Vladimir's Offering's another one that comes to mind, that then allows him and his minions to push objectives. He can also be valuable in team fights as long as that ultimate is ready, the shapeshift ability, and not on cooldown, because of the mobility that he gets and the crit damage that he gets as well. But he's going to be pushing objectives, and it really keeps the other team guessing in terms of, you know, whether or not they want to defend a tower, or if they want to take a team fight or gank elsewhere.
PSG.LGD's turn to pick.
The carries for both team has likely already been shown as well. If I had to guess, I'm guessing both teams are going to go a mid-hero with their final picks. So all the bans happening right now, I'm seeing Void Spirit is still there. Void Spirit has been a very popular hero in the mid lane for so many teams, so that's one that right off the bat comes to mind. But talking about the carries, as we're gonna say a Pango. Okay, interesting. Now I kind of wonder what we're gonna see as far as who's gonna play where. So LGD has one of these drafts where really not confident in terms of what heroes are going to be exactly where. And certainly an idea, just like I'm sure Spirit has. But they do have a couple of what's called the flex pick or the diverse pick, where they can play in multiple roles. Pango is one of these heroes. He can be played as a core, even like a mid lane and off lane. But he could also be played as a support, just a really a hard support, a force support as well, and just, you know, builds accordingly from there. So high mobility hero can create chaos in team fights with his ultimate. He kind of turns into this spinning ball, Sonic the Hedgehog style, and he just goes around and everyone he runs into it knocks them in the air. He's also really good for clearing out illusions with his what is it called, swashbuckle, I believe. But anyways, he uses that sword of his and he darts forward or in a direction and it hits multiple times in an AoE cone. And I say it's good for cleared illusions because they're going up against a Naga Siren. Naga Siren carry is one of the hardest carries in the game, late game, because of how she scales when it comes to her abilities, and because she is very illusion based, which means she can create these illusions of herself that deal a lot of damage, you know, also, you know, are somewhat tanky, especially depending on her item build. And you're having to face many Naga Sirens, not just the one, come the later game. So having a way to clear those illusions pretty effectively with like a Pango is certainly a good idea for LGD. We do see the Void Spirit coming out with the final pick. Again, Void Spirit's been very popular in this tournament, so I was actually even surprised to not see him banned coming into the last picks in both teams. It looked like, at least, if they needed a mid-hero. But it will be Toronto Tokyo, who's been a star in a lot of ways of this event for Team Spirit, playing the Void Spirit to kick things off here in game number 1. But all right, so it goes back to whenever we have these lineups finished now, the draft's finished. So this is part 1 of a game, essentially, where it's the drafting phase. But now you know which heroes are going to be played, who's playing them, so thus where they're going to be played most likely. It is going to be a mid-Pango. With that said, nothing to say, the mid-player for LGD. So they're going to be running the mid-Pangolier into what ends up being the Void Spirit. But I really think they picked up the Pango a lot for the concept of clearing those illusions of Naga Siren. But yeah, the themes of the lineup, on a very basic level, a lot of these teams, they draft their lineups, and it eventually creates this theme, an idea of what they're going to try to accomplish. You look at Team Spirit's side, like I went back to, they have a Naga Siren who is one of the hardest carries in the game. And again, what I mean by that is because if the game takes a little bit longer and she's getting at least some decent farm, which Naga Siren, especially in that position 1 core, is certainly set up to do, she will get to a point where she feels like she's almost unkillable in a lot of ways. And she's also just putting out so much damage because of the illusions that she creates And then she has her ultimate, which is always kind of a safety net tool, that when she pops her ultimate, everyone in the vicinity goes to sleep that's on the enemy side. Pending BKBs, of course. If the BKB's active, then not the case, does not pierce it. But as long as there's no BKB active, then it will put them to sleep, which means they can't take damage, but they also just can't move, and it allows her to freely retreat. It's also a way to set up initiation, put everyone to sleep, and then allow your team to kind of, you know, move around, position themselves to then go for that jump and go for the kills there. I see a lot of tipping coming out between the two teams to kick it off right here. So yeah, they're going to be playing this kind of 4-1 strategy, and what that means is play around the Naga Siren. Let Naga Siren get her farm, give her the jungle, make stacks happen. The supports they're going to be doing a lot of once we see the jungle camp spawn, all these camps around here. What you can do, you can actually what's called stack the camps. We'll see it throughout. I'm sure we'll reference it as we see it. Where you pull the creeps out of the jungle area. If you hold down Alt, there will be squares around, and of course there's not because we're paused. But if you hold down Alt, there's usually these yellow squares around. We'll see when run pause around each of the camps. That's the spawn point where if there's anything inside those yellow boxes at the minute mark, then there will be no spawn that happens for the jungle camp there. However, there we go. However, if there is nothing in there, so whether the camp was just killed already, or if a support hero comes in, they pull it and they aggro it towards them, where eventually they'll start running back. There's like a leash that they have that you can't just aggro them forever, but you'll pull them out as long as you time it correctly. They'll be running back to the camp as that minute mark hits, and every minute a spawn happens as long as there's nothing in there. So they pull it, they keep it out of there. The minute hits, another spawn takes place, then the previous camp, they go back to it, and suddenly you have what's called a stacked camp. So we're going to be seeing that throughout from the supporting players on the side of Team Spirit. You got both Elder Titan as well as Lion. These are certainly going to be your support heroes and players here. Lion most likely the one to take care of that. Setting up for the Naga Siren, give her that farm, because again, she is not necessarily one that can fight the best early on, as a lot of these 4-1 strategies usually go to, but as I keep going back to, you eventually get the good farm on her. You get these kind of holy trinity of items, is what I like to call it. In her case, something like the Manta style, which it creates more illusions for her to benefit from and use. It's a decent offensive tool and defensive tool as well. It gives her agility, which she is agility-based hero. So Manta style is usually pretty popular. And Eye of Scotty is also pretty popular because with these illusion-based heroes, what these heroes will do is that they like to build up their stats pretty big, right? So in the case of Eye of Scotty, it gives their illusions a lot more health to work with. It also happens to provide that slow modifier that is good for slowing people down so you can stay on top of them and eventually kill them. And then even like a butterfly is a very heavy agility-based item. Great stats for not only the hero himself, but the illusions to benefit from. Yeah, so again, I'm not saying 100% we're going to see that build. Obviously, that can change depending on the situations and how the player feels for the game, etc. But that's kind of, especially once those 3 items would be picked up at the first 3, then suddenly she hits that power spike point of, okay, we're in the advantage now. On the other side, that leads us to LGD. Much, 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 much faster team. The IO Ursa right off the bat is that Ursa alone is already a carry hero that he wants to fight early and often. He just needs something like an early blink even, let alone something else, and he might get what's called a Morbid Mask, which is a basic item, but it gives him a little bit of damage as well as some lifesteal. But yeah, he's going to be ready to fight sooner or later because he also has this ability called Enrage that prevents, not prevents, but it reduces duration of crowd control effects on him. He has the Fury Swipes ability, which we talked about plenty throughout, where the longer he sits on a target, the more damage he does to that target. So you can figure, okay, well, attack speed's really good on him, right? And the ability to stay on top of a target. Now, he himself doesn't have the best crowd control. He does have a slow. The Earth Shock ability, which he kind of jumps forward in a small position, and he'll slow targets that he hits, but he relies on his teammates to, keep things stunned in place, unless he eventually gets items to take care for that. Something like an Abyssal Blade. A basher into an Abyssal Blade is a pretty popular build for later on in the game. But yeah, he's going to fight early and often. He's also a hero that is very capable of doing an early Roshan. We do see the bounty runes, by the way, spawning right here. It's going to be a 3-for-1 favoring Team Spirit. So at the 0-minute mark, not only does it hit daytime and the game officially starts where the creeps spawn in the lanes, but there's 4 bounty runes on the map that spawn as well, which when picked up, give your team some gold and experience. Some gold, excuse me, for doing so. No experience, but some gold, some slight gold benefit. And usually, the teams, they duke it out, and eventually it's a 2-for-2. But sometimes there will be the 3-for-1 favored, and Team Spirit manages to get the 3 bounty runes compared to the 1. So a slight lead for Team Spirit. Again, nothing really too big. But a little bit more gold early on can snowball somewhat, because that does allow you to get a little bit more regeneration, whether that's tangos to eat some trees to regenerate life, a healing salve, which is a healing potion basically, some mana potions, get your magic stick in the lane that much sooner, which is an item that when enemies around you use abilities, you get these charges, and if you use those charges, it instantly regenerates health and mana on the spot. So magic stick, it builds into a magic wand and even other items. You'll see a pretty popular item in a lot of lanes for many different heroes. In fact, this top lane, almost all the heroes have it, other than Tidehunter. But so the point I was going to, though, Ursa, one of these few heroes that is capable of doing a early Roshan. What I mean early, I mean, pre-10 minutes into the game, basically. Roshan, the boss unit right here that spawns. He drops the Aegis initially on the first kill. That's what's in his inventory, which, of course, the item. When it drops, you pick it up, and whichever hero has it, for the next 5 minutes, whenever they die, they would come back to life with full life, full mana after a couple second duration of a death animation in that same spot. So, Ursa, because of his Fury Swipes, and especially if he's paired with an Io who's giving him some regen, some attack speed, whatever, and if he goes something like that Morbid Mask, even an Elder Parasite, or excuse me, a Mask of Madness early on, then Roshan can go down quickly. Now, of course, LGD is smart enough to know that they have an Ursa. They're going to be looking out for the early Roshans. So, although the potential is there, we'll see if he's able to find the opportunity to do it. Or Team Spirit's going to be looking out for it, excuse me. That's LGD's one with it. But yeah, so they got Ursa, they got Pango mid, which is another one of these very aggressive potential mid heroes. He doesn't necessarily need a lot of farm. He could be active. I talked about his ultimate, the Rolling Thunder, where he turns into that ball. He starts knocking people all over the place. Great teamfight presence and ganking. And then also Lycan, again, mention him in the draft. He's this, I build minions, I build for the sake of having my minions push. He is going to go the Helm of the Dominator first item, so he's going to get an early jungle creep, and he's going to look to push objectives, which is a really good strategy to have as well when you're going up against a hero like a Naga Siren. And what I mean by that is that goes back to Naga Siren wants to farm. She does not want to fight early on in the game. She wants to kill creeps, she wants to kill the jungle. There's a couple of play rounds that you can have about that as the opposition. One of them is being aggressive with ganks, which are certainly going to look to do on an LGD side, but also pushing objectives. And I keep going back to this objectives term. What are objectives? Well, the towers are definitely very important objectives, specifically what's called the Tier 1 towers. We have some fighting at multiple lanes. I want to miss a kill. If we can help it, Lion! One more attack, maybe? Oh, is that enough damage? And, oh, Lion's gonna barely live right. No, got in range. Oh, Mira goes down. Zinkyo on Io managed to get that final auto attack in. So, Lion deciding to stick around just a little too close there. And eventually gets killed. What was I talking about, though? Oh, yeah, but then they also pushing objectives. So, objectives of tower kills especially. Very good objective. Roshan, we mentioned, obviously, is another really important objective. But then also things like taking over the outpost, which you can do later on, which if you take it over, not only do you get vision around that area, but you also can teleport. You can use a teleport scroll to that location. So, LGD, they're going to want to try to control the map a lot earlier on in this game. To, once again, put the pressure on Naga Siren and Spirit. Prevent her from farming efficiently and ever really having a chance to take over this game. Mid lane, ooh, Disruptor. He's holding that point, so He chooses not to use level up glimpse just yet as Toronto Tokyo. Jeez. Is he just dead? Man, Pango's diving so deep right here. But in the end, Void Spirit will survive. But this is an awkward spot to be in because even though he's still alive, Void Spirit has to pop a lot of regen, and he's having to play very defensive. So this matchup has actually proven to be a very good one early on for the Pango. And you can look at the creep score, or his last hits and denies, often referred to as a creep score, to help determine what's going on. 29-6 Pango compared to the 27-5 Void Spirit. There is a little bit of jungling going on, so you have to take that into consideration in terms of the overall creep score. But it does seem like Void Spirit, especially knowing that that jungle camp was taken out, Pango has a slight lead. And the net worth also helps tell that as well, of course. But yeah, you get tower kills. What that does, that makes the map a little bit smaller for the opposition because they lose vision around the area. They lose that defensive structure they could use to help support them and run to if they're being chased. But it also prevents a place to teleport to, which is another pretty big deal. As, say, this tier 1 goes down right here, no one can teleport down here, at least to this spot from the Radiant side, to maybe help out the Nagasaran or whatever may be the case. On top of the golden experience bounty that you get, of course, for killing the tower. It's a pretty big deal. Meanwhile, over here, that's going to be a turn on the Lion most likely. Yep, IL ports in and assists with Pango to get that kill onto Lion. So Lion's overstepped a couple of times now. This Disruptor seems like he's being a nuisance, just roaming around. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, this is a very chat-friendly stream as well. So if you have any questions or on the game itself, I can do my best to answer them. But I will say Ursa looking pretty good early on. Has the upgraded boots, the phase boots, which on activation, it allows him to move. You can see right there the 20% increased move speed. And he also can run through units or creeps. So he doesn't need to be worried about being blocked by the creeps, which is pretty important for a hero like Ursa who, again, wants to sit on top of you. By the way, speaking of Ursa, there's a gank being set up right here. I'm looking at the vision of Ursa right now. He doesn't see this coming, but off to the side, IO is going to be spotted. And Ursa's like, all right, let's go. Ursa is level 6, so that means Ursa has his ultimate. At level 6, you get your ultimate. Most heroes, that's the case. I say most because there's at least one that comes to mind. That's not the case. I think Meepo might be the only one, actually. That works a little bit differently. That's a whole other conversation, though. But Ursa at level 6 gets his Enrage ability. Like I said, he uses Enrage. All of a sudden, everything is 50% less duration when it comes to stuns. He reduces damage by 80%. He doesn't increase attacks. For some reason, I thought he might have increased attack speed, but no, that's from the Overpower ability that he gets there, too. So, but yeah, you can just imagine that allows him to really sit on a target that much more effectively and add those Fury swipes up. So, again, powerful tool. Mid lane, it looks like there's some collapsing coming on. Never mind. Both teams were headed towards here, but ultimately not happening. So I'm paying attention to the Radiant jungle right now. Seeing that, yeah, see, there is like a stacked camp right here. You see multiple different types of creeps in this camp. That's because of the stacking that happened. I hold down Alt, and there's that yellow square that I was talking about that are around some of these camps. In fact, you got Nagasaran doing this one. We also see the neutral items starting to drop now from the jungle. The neutral items, to reiterate, every it starts at, I want to say 7 or 8 minutes, but every 17 minutes, 27, 37, then 60 minutes plus, there's these different tier of neutral items that will drop randomly from the creeps, the neutral creeps that are killed after that timer has hit, which then those items can be picked up and used for their abilities. Earlier tiers, obviously, not as impactful, but the later tiers, they can get pretty crazy in terms of what they can do. So we'll try to keep an eye to see any neutral items that really stand out. We see that early Morbid Mask, as we mentioned, by Ursa, by the way. Excellent tool for him for many reasons. Again, Mask of Madness potentially could be an item he goes for as well, but he also has a Diffusal Blade queued up instead for the meantime. He wants to kill these creeps. He has Enrage. He may need to use it right here. Elder Titan going with the Void Spirit. There's the Enrage. He got it off as he gets slept. Ravage is ready for Tidehunter. He's going to hold on to it. Torrent, they're chasing, dissemblate, and yes, it's a kill on Ursa. So Spirit coming together and making that kill happen. Io, meanwhile, getting the hell on out of there as he comes to the mid lane, because that's where the other LGD heroes are. And speaking of pushing objectives, they want to get a mid 1 tier 1. It looks like the tier 1 bottom was killed off, so this is that pacing now starting for LGD, even though they lost the Ursa there. They want more, and they're going to keep the momentum up as they kill the mid tower there as well. Watch Breaky Casting instead of the mainstream. Appreciate it. Thank you. So yeah, this is more of a noob-friendly commentating going on. I'd like to explain more basics of. If you do have any questions that along those lines, no stupid questions, guys. Feel free to ask. Do my best to answer. Kind of strange that LGD picked a no stun team. That is worth mentioning. I don't think we really talked about that too much actually. This dire team, LGD's lineup, they do not have really any stuns, heavy stuns that they are reliant. Obviously they got Rolling Thunder, which does technically stun as he rolls through them. But other than that, you're all right. They don't necessarily have a stun. They have the Kinetic Field Static Storm combo from Disruptor, which he puts Kinetic Field down. It's like a fence, basically, you cannot run through. That, with the Static Storm on top of it, it silences and does damage over time to everything that it's hitting. It's a good combo for locking people down in a big team fight. But, again, I think the lack of lockdown isn't necessarily the biggest deal in the world, because it goes back to they're looking to play fast early on in this game, and they're going to rely on that mobility that they get instead to do so. Tidehunter, we saw the Static Storm right there. He's going to be glimpsed back, but this is Tidehunter, who is not only through items, but even his Crack and Shell ability is a very difficult hero to kill. And you know what? That right there is an example as to why not having stuns is a pretty big deal. The Tidehunter was just able to literally teleport Skrull in front of 3 different heroes on the dire side and teleport out. Usually, in a lot of cases, you know, you wouldn't be able to just teleport in front of enemies because they would have some kind of stun to stop him. But yeah, as being pointed out, they just committed both a Static Storm and a Rolling Thunder ultimate to not even get the kill on a Tidehunter.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So, bit of a commitment. Now, I will say the cooldowns on these abilities aren't these really long cooldowns like some ultimates are. The popular one we use is like the Faceless Void Chronosphere. In this game, hell, Ravage is another example, up to, what is it, 150-second cooldown. That's a lot. Y is, by the way, he's trying to run right here. He's got the Centaur creep helping, but it's not going to matter. Void Spirit eventually comes in, and down goes the Disruptor. By the way, Void Spirit going early Boots of Travel. I like it. I really like that. And so a couple things. I want to stick to that, what I was pointing out there. This team doesn't rely on big ultimate cooldowns, right? They don't have that Ravage, that Chronosphere. They have all their longest cooldown is the Shapeshift, which is 125 seconds. It gets a little bit less so throughout, but the Shapeshift ability from Lycan, he turns into that wolf and he becomes a lot more powerful for these fights. But that goes back to the theme of LGD. They just want to go, go, go. They want to fight early and often and push objectives. Now, Void Spirit getting these Boots of Travel, what this item does now, it's changed a lot over time. But not only does it give him just 100 movement speed base, which is a lot, because normal brown boots give you what, 30 movement speed? 45. They give you 45 movement speed, so then you upgrade into this, that's, you know, you're getting 55 more move speed on top of that. Like, you got the phase boots here, that's 45 move speed, for example, total. So yeah, point is, it's a lot of move speed, but it also makes this TP scroll, which is right here. Everyone has this slot here. They can buy TP scrolls where they can teleport to objectives on the map or the base on a 60-second cooldown. It becomes a 40-second cooldown, and it doesn't use charges. So he does not need to buy TP scrolls the rest of the game, which, you know, that's 100 gold each TP scroll that you'd be spending to buy throughout the game. That's a lot of money saved throughout. As bottom lane, looks like Disruptor again caught the Static Storm used, not going to result in a kill. Elder Titan though, that Shapeshift coming out from Faith Beyond here on the Lycan, so it turns on Elder Titan. But this Tidehunter, again, what did I say before? He is a tanky beast. He pops that magic wand. He has it in defense, and you look at 3 heroes just surrounding this Tidehunter, and he's like, dude, get off me. So I keep saying Tidehunter's tanky. Why is he tanky, you ask? Well, a couple of reasons. One, he's building items as he naturally does that help take him up. He's got this Hood of Defiance. This can turn into what's called a Pipe of Insight, which is a magic damage reduced item, but quite a bit. But this creates a barrier for him that absorbs damage with a on a 12-second duration. But he also has this Kraken Shell ability, which blocks incoming damage from happening, as it has a threshold eventually that kind of, procs the ability. But the point is, he's going to be blocking a lot of damage over time in these fights compared to other heroes. But then this Anchor Smash, if he hits people with this Anchor Smash, not only is it a good farming tool, it does damage in an AoE around you, but it reduces the damage done by the enemies it hits by 60%. Physical damage. So here's a guy, Ursa, Lycan, Pango. These are all heroes that it is hurting quite a bit if he hits them with the Anchor Smash, and that debuff stays on top of them. So, so yeah, Tidehunter is not an easy hero to kill, and that kind of goes back to why he's really just been a very popular hero in this tournament, let alone in general, in the general meta, of Dota 2 throughout history. Tidehunter has always been one of these better offlane heroes, I feel like. Because it also comes back to the Ravage. Ravage is one of the more iconic, again, ultimates in the game. That being so tanky, it allows him to kind of get in those positions to then pop his Ravage and do his thing. He is queuing up a Blink Dagger as well to eventually get, but not getting it yet. So, Diffusal Blade finish on Ursa. A really good item on this hero. It's a good damage enhancement item. It also allows him to slow single targets.
Welcome to the CP Kappa.
As Ugly Fred, welcome to the CP Kappas. You're awesome. You're freaking awesome. Don't let anyone steal your video, goddamn it. Thank you so much. The support is so helpful, guys. Thank you, thank you. If you have a chance to sub, really do appreciate it. Donations, whatever it may be. Obviously, no expectations here, but thank you very much for the support. I am doing the stream thing, and it allows me to keep pursuing this for the time and see what we can make happen with this. So thank you. We got that sub goal down there as well, the Han reunion stream. Talk more about that later on. But
right, welcome to the CP
Tritter
Kappa.
Cakes. There you go. Thank you so much, Tritter Cakes, for that sub right there. Tritter Cakes. Speaking of that, though, we got a fight breaking out Toronto Tokyo. He is going to be able to use his Astral Step a couple of times and get out of there. He does have a Yule Scepter as well if need be, which he might use it here at Cyclone Sim in the air. Oh my god, just simply that damage almost killed him. But he does manage to escape. So yeah, Pango, again, this is a core, it's a mid-farming Pango. So this Pango is actually going to be hitting fairly hard. That Maelstrom that he has now, it's a good farming tool on him. But how he works with the Swashbuckle ability, that's what we saw right there with the quick succession of attacks. In that cone there that I mentioned, that's great for clearing illusions as well. It also procs items that he has. So things like the Maelstrom, where there's a chance every hit to proc that Chain Lightning, which, it's more farm that can come with that. Good for clearing out stacks. Up here, by the way, Pingo's dead, so catch the script. Okay, here's that sleep we're mentioning. So people are TPing in, but Nagasiren, she just pops her sleep, so anyone that TPs in, they go to sleep, and then she just teleports out. So Nagasiren assists in the kill on a Pango, and then gets the hell on out of there. In fact, got the kill on a Pango up at the top, and goes first item Ags. Oh my god, we gotta talk about this. Okay. Best commentator ever. Thank you. So I got a lot going on right here, so I apologize if I'm missing any notifications there, or any comments in chat. Speaking of missing stuff, I'm missing a big fight over here. Spirit! They're gonna take us in queue, and suddenly 4 are dead. Okay, so a couple of things. This goes back to the theme of this game. What did I say? LGD, they're going to play fast, they're going to play quick, they're going to play map control, get objectives, etc. Objective-wise, they got a couple of early tower kills. It felt like, okay, they got something going now. But they've stalled for the last 5 minutes or so. They've tried a couple times. We saw them try to kill Tidehunter multiple times and not get the kill. And this Nagasiren, meanwhile, has just been farming. She's been farming, and what did I say? She's going to be a huge threat in this game. As far as much later on, they kill Pango again there, by the way, as they catch him out. But this Ag's first item for Nagas, or second, I guess. He did get the Manta first. But what the Axe does, it allows her ensnare to actually hit spell immune or sleeping units even. So targets that she happens to get affected by her Song of the Siren, usually, like I said, you can't really touch them at all until they wake up. Now she can actually net them before they come out of their sleep. But then also any BKBs that would come out, which is very possible in this game, that's not going to matter as well. The ensnare, it'll just go on through. And then it also reduces the cooldown by 6 seconds and increases the cast range by 400. So it basically makes her net ability, it puts it on steroids. It makes her net so much more effective, not only for chasing down units, but helping it get away. And so she actually becomes a lot more slippery, and Axe itself does provide a good chunk of stats, right? You're looking at 10 ult attributes, 175 of life, 175 mana. So that also goes back to the illusions benefiting from the stats, and we see these illusions are out and doing plenty of work for her. She's going to be pushing that top lane. So the objective game is actually being won right now by Team Spirit, which is a big no-no if you're LGD's lineup. And this is where every single game you almost have to analyze what's going on a bit differently depending on the drafts, right? So in some other games, you see this 4,000 net worth lead for Spirit, you may think like, okay, you know, is this really that big of a deal? Maybe this was expected to have the early lead. Can they really, though, transition to the mid game? I think this lead is even a lot bigger than it's suggesting here for Team Spirit, because of the points I'm going to where LGD's lineup, they really were very dependent on doing early objectives, getting the early tower kills, slowing down Naga Siren, and maybe even getting an early Roshan with this Ursa Io combo. They haven't really done any of that. They got 2 tower kills, and now 21 minutes into this game, they're losing in tower kills because now it's 3 for the LGD side compared to the 2 for 3 for the Spirit side compared to the 2 for LGD. They haven't got Roshan, and this Naga Siren is farmed. And when Team Spirit starts going aggressive like they're doing here, that's when you know you're in a very scary place if you're LGD. So I'm not saying this game is absolutely over, don't get me wrong, but Team Spirit is really feeling themselves right now, and in a good way. They got to be feeling very, very good, because this Naga Siren, she's already gonna have an Orchid soon, and she's building even into a full Bloodthorn, which is something else to talk about. But yeah, this Naga Siren. So I was actually a bit wrong. I was right on the Manta style, but it's been a while since I've really seen a Naga Siren, follow the meta that closely. So I don't know if this is new typical thing with the new Axe effect, but man, going the Axe second now into an Orchid, her single target damage is intense. So especially with the Zags and a much more powerful ensnare, we're gonna see that coming out here, by the way, coming into play. But now she has this Orchid, which it applies a silence to the target of choice, and then after the 5-second silence, 30% of the damage dealt during the silence will then be applied as well in a burst sense. So it's much more single target burst. The silence itself is potentially going to be pretty good against, say, the Io, we see the new Roshan here, but this is not a sneaky Roshan. They know that this is happening, and this could determine how this game plays out. Now they're going to jump in. Io burst it off the bat. The Orchid comes out. They kill Roshan. Oh, he picks it up on Ursa. But Ursa, is he going to be able to fight this out? He has his BKB as well as he in range. He shreds through Tokyo. No, Tokyo gets out. Oh my god, he's able to escape barely with any life. The sleep from Naga Siren, and they TP out themselves. Okay, it looks like Void Spirit was run down by Faith Beyond in the back lane, so the shapeshift and to get the kill ends up working. You know what? LGD somehow made that work out in their favor. They do keep the Aegis on Ursa, and Void Spirit goes down in that fight. So yeah, I mean, LGD, they still have tools, and I guess a couple of big factors there. Tidehunter did not use his Ravage, and the Sleep for Naga Siren was also used in a much more defensive runaway tool than it was maybe to initiate into that pit. So a couple of, I don't want to say mistakes, because that's one of those I would have to see a replay to fully understand why that took place like it did, but yeah, as being pointed out in chat as well, to see a big fight like that and no Ravaged used when Tidehunter didn't even die, that's a little odd. I think he just got his blink. I want to say he had it going into that fight. I'm actually not really sure. Yeah, Io's, there's a reason why this hero is just first picked and not cared about how the enemies are going to respond a lot of the time, because exactly, he is just such a good hero. It goes back to, and you'll see this kind of build on these Isles as well, where he gets the Holy Locket into the mechanism. Like I said, so how Io works, the unit that he's tethered to, as he might be in trouble here. And the tether, that's the other cool thing with tether, it actually kind of pushes him towards the tethered target in a quick sense. And it allows him to kind of, you know, maybe kite one way as if he's running away, and then port to the target almost. But he'll regenerate the life and mana of his opponent he's tethered to. So having these bursty heal items like the mech and the Holy Locket, it gives him that way to keep himself and his teammate alive much more efficiently. And then he has this overcharge ability, which increases the regeneration of the targets that he's on, as well as their attack speed by a ton, which, again, you think about Ursa, loves that attack speed. It goes back to why he's such a great partner for this Ursa. Who, by the way, we saw the BKB, which is that Black King bar in that last fight. Again, what this does, it prevents any magic damage and disabling abilities from happening while the BKB is active. So, as long as he has BKB up, he cannot be stunned by a lion, he cannot be hit by Ravage. A lot of Void Spirits damage, I suppose, might be mitigated throughout. So, the one key it goes back to is, one, he can be netted because of the Ags on Naga Siren. But two, is that as long as it's active, he cannot be slept by the ultimate of Naga Siren either. So that's where that kind of funky mind games comes into play. If you're Naga Siren, do you maybe initiate with the sleep, try to sleep the Ursa and set up crowd control around that? Or do you use it for the getaway tool after the BKB is already down? Who knows? Or that's for Naga Siren to decide, I guess.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Akaya Insane, picked up by Void Spirit. So boy trying to really enhance himself as there's a net onto Lycan. He pops the shapeshift. Oh my god, he is getting mass cracking, but look at all the minions around. And he will be fine. He does have the Helm of the Overlord now, which is the upgraded Helm of the Dominator. And what this does, this allows it to take over those ancient creeps. And the one that we've seen him have is the Black Dragon. I think he lost the Black Dragon, though, so he might need to get something else. But we've seen it a couple times throughout this tournament. The one that you really would want to see him get is one of these, actually. This Granite Golem. It provides an aura that increases the HP of nearby units by 15% for their health. So I would not be surprised to see Lycan trying to find one of those eventually and have that 15% health buff for him and his teammates in these team fights. But yeah, overall net worth, it's actually gotten a little bit closer because of how that Roshan fight went. But you see right now, Team Spirit, this is where they're going to start really playing around the Naga Siren more. They're pushing bottom lane. By the way, she went a full Bloodthorn, which is basically an upgraded Orkin. She now has a True Strike, and she has a chance to crit for 130% on his attack. But the True Strike makes it so evasions don't take place, basically. I'm looking through the enemy heroes. I don't think evasion was necessarily something that she's looking to get around. So I think this is more just simply put for the damage output that she wants. And now she's building into a Heart of Tarask. What the Heart of Tarask is, it's just straight up a ton of health and regeneration, which it goes back to the concept of these raw stats on a hero like Naga Siren are extra powerful. As this Titan, he's living this long. Finally gets killed, but yeah, you see them, it takes a while. But extra powerful on her because of the illusions. And the illusions benefit from those raw stats as well. And as we continue on in this game, this is where we're going to start to see more and more of Naga Siren. What she'll be doing, she'll be creating these illusions, this mirror image ability. It's on that 25-second cooldown. She creates the illusions. And she even gets one more now because of the level 20 talent she got. And she'll just push out lanes like this. So we're now seeing the term that I've said before, that rat Dota, coming into play by Team Spirit here, that they're going to be continually relying on. And this is what this is going to do. It's going to force LGD to constantly have to defend these lane pushes and react to it. And now what you do if you're the opposition is this is where you try to catch them as they're reacting, and they got a great chance here. Ursa, Isle's keeping him alive. Is it enough? I don't think so. He goes down. No Aegis. That must have just got reclaimed. Or was that used earlier? Did I miss it? Either way, no Aegis means he's staying dead. And that's exactly to the point. They use the illusions as bait, essentially, to force the opposition to defend. And the team jumps it. So even with the IO support, it didn't matter right there. And they're also going to catch Pango over here after killing Disruptor. Pango, though, he's got his own Blacking Bar. And oh no, the Rolling Thunder, but he's stunned! He's ensnared in place! Oh, that's such a good item against a hero like Pango. So Pango, the Rolling Thunder, is usually one of these abilities that's, if he's using that, he actually becomes immune to everything for magic. So it's like his own BKB that he gets, and normally you won't see him crowd controlled because of that. But because of the Axe and Naga Siren, she's able to just easily ensnare him when he pops that Rolling Thunder. I didn't even think about that, honestly. Yeah, this Axe pickup was such a good choice. And you look at now, she has the heart. This is what I'm talking about. 3,500 life on this Naga Siren. And it's like, oh, what? Break it. What the fuck does 3,500 life mean? Is that good? Like, that's understandable. You look at Ursa, has 2,800 life. You look at Isle, 1,600 life. 1,200 life on Disruptor. Tidehunter, who's tanky, 1,900 life. This is a carry hero that has 3,500 life. And, oh, by the way, she's spawning these illusions that also have that life pool. Now, granted, the illusions take a little bit more damage than a normal unit. I forget, that number's changed so much. I want to say maybe it's like 175% damage. Somebody can correct me in chat. But still, even with that in consideration, these things are getting ridiculously difficult to kill now. So Ursa building a Reaver. Not sure. Is this an Abyssal Blade? Is this like a new Abyssal Blade build, or no? What is he building? It's not a heart. He just built something. It's coming out. He's got a Claymore. What am I missing here? It is a Satanic. Okay. I didn't think, I guess I forgot that building Satanic. Okay. Oh, it does, duh. Alright, so Satanic now finished on Ursa. So what Satanic is it's the item that not only does it help tank him up, but it also, when he activates it, he gets that insane life steal. 200% life steal for 6 seconds. So it is, as long as used correctly, and especially on a hero like Ursa who has the Enrage, which allows him to prevent being hard crowd controlled a lot of the fight. He can heal up, and it kind of is like a second life, and he has the IO already backing him up as well. So this Ursa is building to stay alive in these fights. But even against the, if you see right there against the Illusion, he had to attack him 3 or 4 times, didn't even get a half life. Oh, the IO chomp! That's who you want to kill if you're Spirit. You kill IO, suddenly Ursa isn't nearly as strong. We also saw the Granite Golem by Lycan, mentioned before, a great unit for him, but that's killed off. Yeah, the Team Spirit. Oh, this is a glimpse back? Okay. But they caught some, but that's right. Disruptor's on the other side. So Disruptor has that glimpse ability. He sends somebody back in time 3 seconds in terms of positioning where they came from, or 4 seconds. It's a good catch tool, but also to, you know, keep yourself alive. Spirit's going to take Roshan. There's no way LGD stops this. They don't have IO up. And this is just a smart decision by Spirit. Spirit knows that their team fight is very strong right now, arguably stronger, especially with the Ravage ready to go. They have IO killed, so unless he buys back, they should easily win any fight that happens. So they secure Roshan, they get the Void Spirit, the Aegis. So the Aegis discussion is another kind of fun thing, in that it looks like Void Spirit got the shard as well that drops, and now his Dissimulate will be a lot bigger, so we'll see that when he uses it. But who gets the Aegis it can often be a fun discussion too, because, you know, do you put it on your position 1 carry hero that's very farmed, in this case the Naga Siren, because you want her, you know, up in the front lines just pushing, and so if she happens to get caught and die, then she'll come right back up. You can also play around with baiting that, etc. Or do you put it on your hero that isn't as tanky, but also has the ability to really, you know, be in the back, kill that IO quickly, get in those back lines, and a lot more maneuverability. So they give it to the Void Spirit. That's obviously their argument there, I'm sure. It really comes down to that's how confident they feel in this Naga Siren, just being unkillable. You should always give it to the Initiator or carry. Yeah, I mean, yeah, kinda, right? Like, because when you say Initiator, people may, oh, well, why not give it to Tidehunter? You know, get Lao into jump, because he's going to be jumping and popping ultimate. Now, you do want to stay away giving it to heroes that have big ultimate. In fact, Lycan on the other side is a great example of that. The Aegis on Lycan, he can be played as this position 1 carry, but usually you don't want to give him an Aegis, because he's one of these heroes where when he's in shapeshift form, he's a beast, like literally a beast that just goes off and does a ton of damage. But if he pops shapeshift and he dies with that Aegis, you know, 20 seconds into it, he resurrects, but he doesn't have shapeshift anymore for, you know, 40 more seconds or whatever. And so his usefulness in that fight, it's really not there. It's kind of the same thing for Tidehunter, right? Where if he jumps in and pops a Ravage and he dies, well, sure, he comes back up, but without Ravage, he's not necessarily the hero that he used to be. So that's something to keep in mind when talking about the Aegis discussion there. But we got a big fight here, at least an attempt. LGD, they're trying to chase, but Team Spirit just running. Oh no, Yatoro's just going to net him and keep running. He has Sleep, Static Storm. They catch him in, but now here's the response. Collapse, he's got Ravage still. Disruptor just picked off back here. Yeah, Void Spirit's just going in. I mean, you see that dissimulate. There's the Ravage finally coming out. Ursa, he's got the IO support. BKB activated in a rage as well. They're just going to kite, though. You just kite the Ursa, and that's exactly what they do. Ursa has to run back to base. And Team Spirit has full control right now. A 10,000 net worth lead as a team. But this Naga Siren really does feel unkillable. BKB activated by Lycan. He does not have Shapeshift. He's trying to get out. The Assault Kuros helping to tank up a bit. There's the pull in from Elder Titan and the nuke from Lion. The finger of death is felt. That just straight up heavy magic damage. Down goes Lycan with no buyback. And this could be game 1. Spirit just going balls to the wall, baby. The Aegis is popped on Void Spirit. There's going to be Yatoro getting glimpsed back, but it's like, okay, whatever. he's got Butterfly now to you, so this is just that other item that I expected to see, certainly. Enhances himself, but also the illusions that much more. These illusions, they're absurd. You just look at these illusions and how they're just not dying. And also just how much damage they happen to be doing in the meantime. The LGD can't stop this. I mean, Lycan's dead for 30 more seconds. Ursa, he's got his BKB again, I suppose, but Disruptor is dead. Nothing to say. He's going to roll around. That's a sleep from Naga. The BKB is going to be wearing off soon. And the reset now from Team Spirit to simulate away. Ursa going at it with Toronto Tokyo, but no, you see the cringe just pop up. I expected GG's here any second. There we go. GG, well played. Team Spirit is going to take game number 1 here at the TI10 Grand Finals. And you know what? It really is the lack of a lockdown draft from LGD. It does make me think about that a little bit more, honestly. And how maybe that did play a critical role. I still don't think that made the draft horrible at all. It put LGD in a spot of they had to play a very specific way. And one of those ways was, I think they needed to get an early Roshan. I really do. Because they had all the makings of a team, not only with the Io Ursa, but alike, they could have, it feels like they literally could have walked in the Roshan pit, maybe around the level 6-7 marks for all the heroes, at least for their cores, and just did Roshan. And maybe try to force Team Spirit to fight them. But at that point, they should have felt like they were much further ahead, and I feel like they would have been. And they could have gotten early Aegis and then, maybe try to work off of that. But Yeah, a couple of times they tried to kill that Tide Hunter early on. They couldn't. Naga Siren just freely farmed. Naga Siren wasn't touched that whole game. I mean, Naga Siren had 0 deaths the whole game. They have 0 things to deal with Naga Siren. No, they did it. That was the Pango pick. Pango with Swashbuckle as a core does deal with the illusions pretty well, right? At least at the early point in the game, he had the early Maelstrom. Like, that's the item that you're definitely looking for. So again, I guess I'm like sitting here, like, I could see where LGD was coming from, but I'll give you this, Kiki, and whoever else may be thinking this. LGD put themselves in this spot of they needed to play this draft a lot better than Team Spirit. How about that? Team Spirit, it was a much more comfortable, we can kind of do our thing, not feel too much pressure in this game.